Hello everyone, welcome to a long-awaited and long overdue Silicorp video today. I apologize for the lighting, it's pretty bad. I'm currently in between two places right now, so this setup will have to do for the meantime. But I thought I'd come out of hibernation and continue a more regular pattern of videos. But if anything's going to get me out of hibernation right now, it's going to be the markets today on January 25th. Absolutely crazy. And so I thought I'd make actually quite a few videos today addressing what's going on. I've been in contact with a few friends who've said today and also in the past that this market makes no sense, and I completely agree with them. EV stocks, solar names, all sorts of just trash in the market. We're seeing moves of 20+% a day. We're seeing numerous 1,000+% moves over the last 9 months in a variety of names, which is just crazy. And again, I hear it all the time, and I say it myself. This market makes no sense. How are these names trading at a PE like this, or a PS like this, or whatever? And there's two ways in which you can look at it from. At least two ways I'm going to point out. The first way is, the fundamental way, which is what you're taught in finance. You look at a company's earnings per share. You look at a company's free cash flow. You look at a company's revenue, the sustainability of that, the business model. You look at Porter's 5 forces, the moat they have, their competition, their products, their innovation, what they spend on R&D. And you put together a discounted cash flow analysis. You analyze several micro and macro factors, and you come to a intrinsic value of a company. You come to a per share price amount for these companies. That's one way to look and justify a company. But if you look at the markets today, there's just no fundamental way you can justify the valuations that several of these companies are trading at. In fact, a lot of NASDAQ companies are trading at, or just companies in general. And it's like, this doesn't make any sense, Matt. How am I supposed to look at Apple trading at 2 times its historical PE and think about buying it here and stuff like that? It makes no sense. These solar names are up 25% a day for weeks. It makes no sense. And again, it makes no sense if you look at it from a fundamental perspective. But finance is mostly dictated by behavioral economics, right? So if you look from a behavioral perspective, it suddenly makes a little bit more sense. And let me break it down by what I mean by that. So decisions in general are made by evaluating the incentives versus the consequences. And the last 12 years, specifically since 2016 when Donald Trump got in office, and one of his priorities, if not his main priority, was to make the stock market higher. Everyone saw his tweets, all-time high in the market, so keep buying stocks, and his plethora of tweets about the markets doing well and so forth, and also his attacks on the Fed and so forth. But what was very important was in 2018, the end of 2018, in fact in early 2019, when Chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, changed direction. He went from raising rates to now all of a sudden lowering rates and starting another round of QE. And basically what he said was, look, markets, I have your back. At first he was, again, raising rates because of, inflation, so forth, his mandate. And he said, you know what? No, you're right. We're gonna start pumping money into the markets. We're gonna start lowering rates. We're gonna start, giving the liquidity to the banks so they can provide more loans, more cheap loans. And since then, it's been a rocket ship upward. Now we had obviously the coronavirus, and that gave central banks even more permission and more justification to pump trillions of dollars into markets to encourage fiscal spending with trillions of dollars in proposed packages and so forth, and checks and aid to local and state governments and so forth. But the key point here on the behavioral side is that if you're an investor, you've been rewarded for taking on mass amounts of risk. You've been rewarded for buying GameStop at $40 a share because now it's at $140 a share. You've been rewarded for buying, companies that really that can't justify valuation at $1 that are now trading at $4 or $5, at $20. Right? You've been rewarded for buying out of the money call options on absolutely anything. And so when you look at it from that perspective, and again, you have retail, which used to make up 5-10% of the average volume. Now I've seen reports say it makes up over 25% of volume. Again, a lot has to do with the fact that people are locked down in their homes. Again, they're getting stimulus checks. Sports was closed for an extended period of time, and now there's influencers on every social media platform talking about the stock market. We're being constantly surrounded by the news of the markets doing well. I mean, we had that the last 4 years under President Trump, constantly tweeting about the markets. And now we're seeing it take it to a whole new level now with social media and all these influencers talking about how to make money in the markets and stuff like that. So it's been shoved in our faces now constantly every single day. And guess what? You've been rewarded. You've been incentivized to take on risk. So next time you say the market makes no sense, think about, what? Actually, it does make sense. It makes sense from a behavioral perspective. We're being trained to accept the fact that we're being trained to take on more and more and more risk and buy calls, buy stocks. Don't bet against the market. Don't short names. Don't buy puts. Be long the market. Be long the market. The crappier the stock, the better the returns. So I hope that helps put a new perspective on maybe what you are thinking. And again, just my personal opinion, not professional advice or anything like that. I'm not recommending taking any action. Do your own research. But what I am saying is just this is what my perspective is on why the markets are the way they are and why they do in fact make a little bit of sense. So hopefully this helps you understand what's going on, and best of luck out there.